Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk about a concept that confuses a lot of people when they first start using Make or any other similar tool for that matter. And that is the concept of bundles. And what happens is if you have an action like the one I have here on screen for Todoist, which is returning a collection or a list in its response. So in this example, it would be a list of uncompleted tasks. And this could be a list of tasks or projects. It could be a list of emails. It could be a list of records from your table. But the point of the matter is anytime the action is returning more than one of a thing, so more than one task, more than one project, it's a list or it's a collection. And in that scenario, what Make does is it will turn them into individual bundles. And to show you an example, here I have my Todoist block, and it is set to fetch my uncompleted tasks from the inbox. And what happens when I just run this module is that it will go and fetch all my uncompleted tasks, or up to 5 uncompleted tasks from my inbox. And if we inspect this bubble over here, you will see the input was a limit of 5, and the project is my project ID for the inbox in my Todoist setup. And here on the output, we can see now, because it returned 5 uncompleted tasks, what we get is we get 5 bundles. So if I collapse this, you will see that I have 1 bundle per task, because it is not only getting the task, it is getting a lot of other information about the task also. And all of that information pertaining to one particular task is collapsed into one bundle. So if we inspect bundle 1, we will see that the task is somewhere over here. So it's the content represents the actual task description. So in this case, it's just task. And then we will also see whether the task is done or not. So because we're only fetching uncompleted task, this will be false in all the scenarios. But let's say our query was get top 3 tasks or get 10 most latest tasks or something like that. This could be true or false. In this case, it will always be false. It's redundant, but here we get our task. And then the point is that because we asked for 5, we got 5 bundles. So far so good. It's not a big deal. We're getting 5 bundles. So what's the matter? The problem is what happens next. And to demonstrate this, what I'm going to do is and for this scenario, let's say let's just name it here. So let's name it something like send tasks summary in Slack and email. Okay. And this is just to demonstrate this whole concept of bundles. Very good. So I'm going to add a Slack module here, and it is connected to my personal Slack. And what I want to do is I'm going to create a message, and I will select the channel manually, or actually I'll select it from the list. And then I'll select a private channel. And in the private channel, I have a channel set up for this demo, a YouTube channel. Very good. And then in the text, so remember, so what we're doing is we're sending a task summary. All I want to know, and I can set this up with a scheduled trigger, so it's send me a task summary every 9 a.m. or every 5 p.m. or something like that. But for now, we're just going to trigger it manually. And here I want to say is so I want to say the number of tasks that are pending. So I will say you have a total number of bundles, because remember, the bundles from this block, the number of bundles essentially means number of tasks, because that is what we are requesting here. So I can assume that this number 5 over here, total number of bundles, represents total number of uncompleted tasks. So I can take this into my message and say you have 5, or whatever the number is going to be, uncompleted, or we can just say pending tasks. Much easier. There we go. Fix the spellings. Okay, perfect. So if you click OK, and what we're going to do is we are going to just test out the scenario. And what I'm expecting is that it's just going to tell me, because remember here in my output, I can see, or actually if I go from here, I can see that I have a value called total number of bundles, and it's giving me the number of bundles as well. So I'm just using that. So no big deal. I should get a message, you have 5 pending tasks or something like that. So let's see what happens. So if I hit play, it's going to get the task, and voila, it's going to send me some messages in Slack, and let's see what we get. There we go. So we got, you have 5 pending tasks. But notice what happened. We got this message 5 times, not 1 time, but 5 times. I wonder why that is the case. And the best way to explain this would be if I switch over to a diagram here in Miro. And this is essentially our scenario in Make. We have the Todoist block, and then we have Slack, We haven't added the email yet, but we can add that, no problem. So what happens is when you have an action, which is returning, as I mentioned, more than one of something. So it's returning more than one task. So it's a collection of tasks. So here what we are getting is 5 bundles representing our tasks. And what make will do is it is supposed to execute these actions followed by the Todoist block, but instead of executing them once, it will execute them once per bundle. So that is the key to remember here, that the actions followed by an action that returns more than one bundle will be executed once per bundle. So basically what happens is it will go through, it will execute this, it will execute this, it will execute whatever else is there, and then it will start all over again, and it will go back to where it started. So we can just form a loop here, something like this. It will start and go back here, and it will form a loop, and this whole cycle is executed once per bundle. There we go. And this, in other words, if you're familiar with the programming concepts, this is essentially a loop. And it is looping over all the actions once per bundle. So in this case, because we got 5 bundles back, it is going to loop over them 5 times. So these all modules will be executed 5 times. And that is why I got 5, not 1 message. And this is also pretty visible here because you will see that we had 5 operations go towards the Slack message because it was actually executed 5 times. And sometimes what happens is if you have a webhook response or something like that, even though it is executing multiple times, you might not notice it because the webhook only receives the response once, or the caller of the webhook will receive only a single response and the rest will be discarded. So you might not notice that this is actually happening behind the scenes. So what's the fix, right? Actually, just to drive the message home here, I'm just going to show you one more time. If I change the limit to something like 3, for example, or 2 is fine. And if I run this again, so now you will see that we see 2 operations were used towards Slack. And if I move over to Slack, you will see I got 2 messages just now that says you have 2 pending tasks. So once per bundle. The message doesn't change because we are getting a static value here. But if I change it to the bundle order position, or if I add it here, I'll just say bundle order position. So you will notice that this is indeed being executed multiple times, once per bundle, and not just the same thing multiple times. So if I save this now, if I hit OK, and now if I run this and we go over to Slack, so we will see you have 2 pending tasks. It was the first one and then the second one, because when it went through first time, the bundle order position is going to be 1. But when it goes through the next time, the bundle order position is going to be 2nd, which is also something to keep in mind for some other scenarios where you might want to actually leverage this number. But for now, basically the thing to remember is that all the actions followed by any action that responds with more than 1 bundle will be executed once per bundle. So basically we have formed a loop here of all the actions. Very good. So now that we understand the problem, let's talk about the solution. So the solution is, it's actually pretty simple. What we have to do is we have to somehow, before we get to this part, change this into a single bundle. So we have to add something here in the middle that will do some kind of magic and basically convert X bundles into 1. So whatever number of bundles we get before this, we wanted to convert it into 1 so that when we get to this part, the loop will no longer make sense because it will go through and it will notice that there's only 1 bundle, it will execute, and it will be the end of our whole scenario. The loop will not make sense because it's only once per bundle, and if you only have 1, then it's only going to execute once. So we need something here in the middle to convert all of these into 1. And remember, you actually might want to execute all of these actions multiple times. It depends on your scenario. You actually could have a scenario where, for example, if you are sending an email per task, so maybe you get the assignee of the task and you want to email all of them. So let's say the first task had assignee A, second task had assignee B, and you want to email assignee A and assignee B individually with the tasks that they are responsible for, then you would not do this conversion because you actually want it to execute multiple times. So that's a different scenario. But we are talking about a scenario where we only want the Slack message or this email to come out once, basically indicating that, hey, this is the number of tasks you have pending. So no matter how many tasks we have, I just want 1 Slack message or 1 email. So how do we do that? So this is where this middle part comes in. And for this, what we use is something called an aggregator. And basically, we will go here and click on add a module and look for, we can just filter by aggregator. And this lives under the flow control module. And here we are, it's called array aggregator. We click on this and it will get dropped here in the middle. And as you can see, the icon pretty much gives you the indication that we are taking multiple things and combining them into one. But once this module comes up, it is going to ask you about some aggregated fields. And essentially what's happening here is that we are going from multiple bundles to a single bundle. So we had something like, just type here, task 1, task 2, task 3, so on and so forth. And each of these tasks, so these are all individual bundles, and each of these bundles also have some information. So the description, they have the status, ID, etc. So each of these tasks also have some information associated with that, and that is exactly what is contained in the bundle. So this information exists per bundle. So when you aggregate, currently these are independent bundles, right? So something like that. So there we go, 1 bundle, 2 bundle, 3 bundle. So these are currently different bundles. But now we are going to have a single bundle on this side because we are using the array aggregator. And in this, it's asking us, so this question over here is, what are the fields that you need in the aggregated bundle? So do you want to bring in everything, or do you want to bring only some specific fields? And it's totally an optional choice. You can pull in everything if you want, or you can pull in just a limited set of fields. So what will happen on this side then is, within the same bundle, we will have, get rid of that. Let me start over. So within the same bundle, we will have task 1, and then any fields that we select. So let's say I only select description. So we will have description, and let's move it here. And then we will have task 2 description and task 3 description. But instead of being independent bundles, these are going to be part of a single bundle. And this will all make sense once we do it in Make. So let me just fix this over here. There we go. Center it a little bit. Okay, looks good. So yeah, so we went from multiple to 1. So here we have to answer this question: what are the fields that we are bringing over into this consolidated bundle? So let's go here. So I'm going to select, let's say we can select the content, and we can also select the ID of the task or something like that. Very good. So now let's hit OK. And let's try to run this. And actually, we need to fix the Slack message now because it will no longer make sense. So let's get rid of this, and we'll say you have. And now, so notice the flow control is giving me an array as the output, because we no longer have independent bundles. What we have is a consolidated bundle, and that bundle over here, this thing over here, is known as an array. So array contains multiple of same thing, so it contains multiple tasks along with all the different details of the tasks. So now we have an array. So if I just put this in here for now, let's just put this in here and see what we get. So hit OK, and let's run it. So it pulled the task, it did the aggregation, and at least one problem is solved. It only executed, the Slack message only executed once, but let's see what we get in Slack. So in Slack, what we get is collection, comma, collection. So this thing is just the representation of the array that I showed you here, except it's just calling it a collection because it has multiple things in it. So it has the task ID, the name, and etc. But it doesn't know how to put it here in Slack. And that's okay, we can fix that. And anyway, we don't need these independent tasks. All we care about is the length of the array, because that represents the number of tasks that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I will say you have, and then we can use a function. We can use an array function from here. It's called length. And the length accepts, so between the space here, what you put is the actual array. So we can grab the array from here, and there we go. So now this will convert, the length function will convert length array into whatever the number of bundles were received from Todoist, because they are now consolidated by the aggregator into a single array. And we can say the same thing, pending tasks. So now if I hit OK, and if I hit run, let's go to Slack and see. And there we go. So now we get the message, you have 2 pending tasks, but we only get it once. And even if I change it to whatever number, if I change it to 5, let's just change it to 10 and see how many we have. It'll get all of them. I think I only have 5 or 6 there. So hit run once, go to Slack. So you have 5 pending tasks. So the key being, we went from executing the Slack message 5 times to a single time, but we're still getting the message that we wanted. Very good. So just to repeat, we get multiple bundles from here. We use the aggregator in the middle to convert multiple bundles into a single bundle, which contains an array of whatever information you're getting back. And then everything else on the right will execute once per bundle. But now that we only have 1 bundle, it is only going to execute once. And then we can use the functions on the other side to get whatever information we want to get from the array. Very good. So that's how you deal with bundles. I hope this was useful. If you like the video, don't forget to hit and subscribe as always. And what I'm also doing is I'm building a list of all the Make tutorials so that they're all nicely available in a single place. So let me just show that to you quickly. Let's go here. And if you scroll all the way down to Make tutorials, you will see all the Make tutorials are going to show up here. I have a lot more of these planned, so stay tuned. I also have other tutorials if you're interested, but if you're interested in the Make tutorials, this is the place to find it. And do let me know in the comments what else you would like to see when it comes to Make. And I will try to record those as soon as possible as well. So thank you. I'll stop here for this one, and I'll see you in the next video.